What's a healthy girl like you doing in my office? You have rheumatoid arthritis. Maybe it's lupus? Your daughter is making this all up for attention. She wants to get out of school. You need to stop trying to find an answer for her pain. You can't allow her to use a wheelchair, even if it means all she does is stay home all day. She can't use it as a crutch. All you need is physical therapy and psychotherapy, and you'll be fine, fine, fine.
One of the biggest battles that my family and I had to face in our Lyme disease journey was just getting the diagnosis. For years, my knees hurt while playing soccer, but we were always told that it was nothing more than growing pains. I was tall, I grew fast. It's normal for a 13-year-old to have severe knee pain. Then on March 12th, 2005, I fell in a soccer game and sprained my wrist. But oddly, in the coming days and weeks, my wrist wasn't the main problem. My knee pain just exploded, and I had constant stabbing pains in both of my knees, both of my ankles, and my wrist. My family and I didn't understand what was happening. I was a healthy 13-year-old who was falling apart more and more each day. For a couple weeks, I hobbled around on crutches, but with both sides hurting the same amount and my wrist being an issue, we finally decided to rent a wheelchair. I was nearing the end of my 7th grade year, and if I was going to continue going to school, I had to have a way to get from class to class. The wheelchair solved our transportation issue, but the pain just grew and grew and morphed into something I had never experienced before. I remember calling my mom to come pick me up from school because it felt like my feet were on fire, pins and needles constantly attacking me. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't feel or think about anything other than the constant pain invading my body. After months of going from specialist to specialist, doing all sorts of blood tests, x-rays, MRIs, we learned nothing new, only that everything came back normal. With every test, all I hoped for is that it would come back showing something that was wrong with me, something they could fix. By this point, vibrations were so ungodly painful that I stayed in bed all day. A light touch on the bed would send ricochets through my spine, feeling like it was being pulled apart from the inside. The only time I left my house was to go to doctor's appointments, and on those times we did our absolute best to surround me with pillows, both in the wheelchair and in the car. But it didn't really do anything. How did people live this way? After 3 months in the dark, we finally found our first bit of light. I was to be admitted to a world-renowned children's hospital for 5 weeks, and they would help me get better. But soon after we arrived, we realized they weren't actually trying to find out what was wrong with me. They had already made up their minds that I was not in pain, I wanted attention, and to get out of school. They had therapy sessions with my mom, telling her to stop trying to help me, because in fact, her trying to help me was only hurting me. She had to stop allowing me to use a wheelchair. They all had to be a united front. There was nothing wrong with me physically, only psychologically. And with physical therapy and psychotherapy, I would be able to overcome what was happening and be able to move on with my life. The whole hospital ordeal was the most traumatic experience I have ever dealt with to this day. They could have used those 5 weeks to listen and learn what was happening to me. I was in a hospital. They could have done test after test, scan after scan, but they didn't. They had their minds made up before I was even admitted. I had no chance. But you know what I did have? I had a mom who chose to believe her daughter over the stuck-up doctor in a white coat. When we returned home, my mom tore through the internet. She looked through online support groups and forums, trying to find out what in the world was happening to her daughter. Through research, my mom learned about Lyme disease, and with the help of other patients online, she was able to find the name of a Lyme disease specialist. On the day before Thanksgiving in 2005, 7 months after first sitting in that wheelchair, my family packed into the car and drove 2 hours to yet another appointment. But this wasn't like the others. Right away, I knew everything was about to change. This doctor listened to me. He cared. I know we had a really long appointment going into all my history and symptoms, but honestly, All I remember is finally feeling safe and understood. And what I remember clear as day was this amazing physician looking at me and telling me that all those other doctors I saw were idiots. He knew what I had. I had Lyme disease.